I am back with another game from Second Wind. This is round three. Vince is not here because he's too busy and important to do commentary for this one. So instead, we've got Pat to come in and help me out. Hey, Pat.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, Vince conned me into doing this because both of the leaders are leaders I've played, unfortunately.
It's your two favorite factions in the whole game.
One of them, yeah, definitely. Um, and I'm even
The two
familiar
you
with most
played
of these
the
models.
most?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a cool matchup. On the right, we have Graham playing Kingpin, uh, a dude we saw last round and we'll see again next round. So we're getting very familiar with how Graham plays his Kingpin list. On the left, we have Nick Menard playing an Asgard list, which is not something we see very often in general, much less on streamed games. So I'm excited to see how the Asgard approaches this matchup. We've got Kingpin 1 priority. We're on Infinity Formula and Hammers at 18 threat.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting combination because, like, the Kingpin player is probably pretty happy with Infinity Formula here, just to, like, sort of make the Asgard player make some pretty strong decisions about how to split their forces, which I think can be a little hard with, like, the
Mm-hmm.
higher threat models. Um, but at the same time, Asgard has a lot of large throws and isn't put off by having to throw a Rhino or a Kingpin off a point. Especially Kingpin getting thrown medium off of a point can be pretty brutal. So it seems like an interesting combination of scenarios for both players.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. Like the Thor is going to have an interesting job in this game because his throw is really good into a lot of models, but like his ability to make power by hitting stuff, especially into like Bill or Kingpin, isn't great. Right, the damage reduction to zero on both of those makes him. If he ever tries to like charge and fish for the stagger, his odds of actually hitting that stagger go way down with those two models. So there's interesting target choices that Thor will have to make here.
For sure. It's also interesting, though, to me, from the Asgard point of view, is there's a lot of. I guess it's odd because it's sort of on both teams right now between Bill on one side and Thor on the other, where they're both models that often struggle to get the third power for their throw, but on Infinity, they just have easy access to it, um, assuming they're on a point. So there's a sort of interesting mini game there of denying the other three cost throw model the power. Um,
So for deployment here, if you can't quite make out what's going on the Asgard side, we have Toad and Pyro up at that top point, Thor in the middle, and then Scourge and Angela at the bottom south end. On the CS side, there's a Quicksilver way at the top, and then Rhino, Kingpin in the middle, and Bill and Black Cat on the bottom. With Graham having priority, I'm going to guess we see an eyes on the prize Bill here to walk up, grab that hammer by the taco truck, and back up with it. Uh, the Asgard player doesn't quite have the same amount of safety. I don't know. So there's another hammer up on top of Luigi's mansion there that we can't see.
mhm.
I don't know if Toad can pick that up with his range to interact without being on top of the building.
Yeah,
If he can grab that while being behind the building, Toad's in a very great spate. Right, like there's very hard to actually make attacks on him this turn, and will be just as good a safe grab as an Eyes Bill would be. But I can't. We'll have to see what happens there. There's the eyes. There's the bill. Grabbing, thinking about where if he wants to back all the way up or just a little bit.
yeah. I think that's sort of an interesting decision. Whether he wants to stay on the Infinity to make the power for Bill or back all the way up, as it looks like he's doing in this case. Um, on the top side, between like the three steals that Graham has here, he can put a lot of pressure on both of those side extracts, even if he doesn't decide to grab the other one. So like, even if Toad can grab it from behind the building, there's still going to be a lot chasing them down. Um,
Yeah, the biggest difference the building will like if the building wasn't there, both Quicksilver and Rhino could attack Toad turn one. Now it's pretty likely they're going to have to wait till turn two,
does a, I guess I always,
or maybe they can't with Toad's
yeah,
grab.
like a
Yeah,
Rhino slow walk plus range three doesn't. It feels like right on the
Rhino
edge, you know.
wouldn't. Yeah, no, you're right. Rhino would not. Quicksilver maybe. I don't really know his distances quite as well. And he's looking for the
Yeah,
Quicksilver.
okay, exciting.
Yeah, so the way this steal is very underrated, right? It's 2 power to play the card, and if an attack deals damage, you spend your 2 power, you get the extract directly. Since Quicksilver starts with 1, he can just walk up turn 1, roll his 4 dice. If a single point of damage gets through, he steals your thing, right? Because you get your damage from the attack before when you'd have to play the card, so you don't have to have the 2 up front. Your builder can get you the power you need to steal. And then once Quicksilver has it, that boy is fast and will get it the fuck out of there very quickly and easily.
Yeah, that's big, and getting 1 damage through on Toad is you got pretty good odds. So, um,
Yeah, it'll be interesting if he tries to get an angle to deny Toad cover, because having cover against 4 die attacks really changes the math,
mhm.
right? So I don't know if he's going to try to swing Quicksilver extra wide, so that on turn 2 he doesn't have cover, right? Since they're both 5 wide, Graham will start with priority,
Sure.
which means he could. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start with like Quicksilver or Rhino to get that steal and move away turn 2. Okay, so we see Rhino double walking, almost certainly on top of that Infinity Formula for power, and very likely to be within 3 of Toad. So the starting to line up threats into Toad already, as we expected.
Yeah, yeah, he'll have the power for Rhino's Steel next turn as well. Especially like even without the Infinity Formula, so he'll have power for the Steel and the pickup. So yeah, lots of threats coming Toad's way next turn. How do you feel about? So I think on this scenario with the hammer in the center and then like the 2 sets of secures off to the side, there's some interesting decisions about which model you go to pick up that central hammer with. Um, I think Thor is a model that makes a lot of sense for just being kind of hard to kill if CS decide to, but also just to have the extra die to maybe make the for Asgard more likely. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Kingpin seems a little more interesting to me. What I don't know. Do you have any theories?
Yeah. So the thing to remember with the way Graham plays his potato list, right, is that he loves passing the extracts around. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see a Kingpin grab this hammer this turn, only to pass it to Bill next turn. Right, and just to try to collect those in a safe space and leave Kingpin free to bully people on the secures. Because if he can make this walk and be on the
Hmm.
Infinity, he will have. Okay, he can't. I would say if he's on the Infinity, he would start with the power to be able to hand the hammer off, but it looks like the truck blocked his ability to make that walk.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I would have been tempted to think about that the opposite direction, but I think both models are similarly durable, so it's not really a right or wrong answer. Um,
Yeah, the biggest difference is Bill is much, much faster,
mhm.
right? So Kingpin is probably ultimately slightly more durable, but can't run away from threats, whereas Bill has a combination of durability and speed that can let him limit attacks that come into him that way.
Sure. Yeah, if you get down to where you're trying to secure the last few points and have to get out of dodge, yeah, feels a lot better. Um, Looks like Nick is deciding to dedicate Thor to sort of the southern side here. Um, is he gonna throw a hammer? No.
No, he's just
Double
double
walk.
walking.
Oh,
He
he picked
picked
up a
up the
hammer. Right.
hammer. Yeah, I think Nick correctly recognizes here that like he will have to get aggressive, especially on the south side here where he has all of his murder models. He's going to need to start doing some attrition down there to win this game, right? Because otherwise, between all the steals and the Kingpin leadership, uh, Graham can just snipe some points here and there, and so going for parity is not a recipe for success long
Hmm.
term. Oh, okay. It's cool. So we see Quicksilver double move, and I'm pretty sure stand on that Infinity Formula, so that he'll have lots of power next turn, and is also currently scoring that because of the Kingpin leadership. And so I assume Pyro could get there in one walk, and then just take one shot into Quicksilver. But with Quicksilver Def 3 reroll 2, pretty unlikely to do anything super terrifying.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't quite tell if he's already in range of Pyro or not. Looks
Looks
like
like
it.
it because they're rolling
Yeah.
dice. This is interesting to me because Quicksilver probably has cover because of that building from here. Where if Pyro walked first, I bet he could get within 2.
Interesting. Yeah, Pyro just being like off the screen makes this a little interesting. But I guess it,
Yeah. Both Quicksilver and
yeah.
Rhino are gonna need some
Um,
help from Vince doing some video editing here.
but yeah, it looks like
So the attack did no damage, and now this is a firewall for Root and Slow on Quicksilver.
and to tie up the point. Um,
Yep.
looks like we're heading towards probably an even split of points here, which in some matchups that's like you're doing pretty well to go even with CS on turn one. Um, so
hmm Yeah, it'll just kind of depend what Nick decides to do with Angela, right? He can leave her on his back point this turn to make sure Black Cat can't just come walk over and steal it from him.
mhm.
Um, uh, well, but actually, I forget Kingpin isn't on the point. I keep
Mhm.
forgetting he looks like he's scoring the point that he's standing next to, but isn't. And so I expect Black Cat to just chill on this point, and then Angela probably just walks the setup for next turn. And yeah, we'll see an even score line that way.
Yeah. So I guess Graham sort of has to make the first decision with Black Cat here, and then Nick can react with Angela. But
Yep.
huh. There's nothing you really want to dedicate
Oh,
Black Cat to other than that, I guess.
well, he's looking like he's considering the double walk to the enemy point. Uh,
Huh.
it forces Angela to stay away from the extracts, right? Like it keeps either Nick gives up the point Scourge is on, or to have Angela like chase the hammer carriers, or the 2 hammer carriers on Graham's side get to stay safer.
Sure.
And then Black Cat will have a lot of power and be standing pretty close to Thor, who has a hammer, right? So then he's threatening to steal Thor's hammer if Black Cat is kind of left alone.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess that's
And
an
it looks like that's what
interesting
he's doing.
interesting way to go. This is like one of those things that it makes a lot of sense, but I'm always hesitant to do it just because of Marvel dice and everything. Like sometimes Angel just walks up and one shots Black Cat. Um,
You got to remember, Black Cat is one of the most
oh,
resistant models to Marvel dice, with the no crits exploding and no rerolls.
yeah.
So okay, and so we see Angela come over here to get this point instead, and then also be in a position to threaten Kingpin and Bill. Oh,
Hmm.
we're getting the truck thrown early too. I like that. Chucking that now before Bill can chuck it back at him and things like that makes sense. And Angela's going to have a million power, not much to do with it. So
Yeah, and
looks like it did 2 damage to Kingpin.
it's interesting to do it in a position where Kingpin doesn't have power to reduce and doesn't have power to brace or anything like that. Yeah.
So I think the score is 4-3 because they both get 2 hammers, and then Graham has the bottom left point from Black Cat and the top right point from Rhino, and then Nick only has Angela's secure.
Right. Right. Okay. Keep forgetting that Quicksilver's over there contesting.
Yep. It's Luckily, through the magic of video editing, everyone watching this will know exactly, roughly,
Yeah.
where he is.
Okay, interesting. So, what is your expectation for Graham's first activation here on turn two, with priority and sort of close access to several extracts?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be some sort of hammer steal. Uh, if it was me, I would be doing the Quicksilver one. I like saving Rhinobbery for later if I don't have to, because it keeps Rhino kind of threatening, and Quicksilver running away is a cheaper model that's less detrimental to your overall game plan than Rhino running away this
Sure.
early. So uh, the other problem with Rhino stealing from Toad is that Rhino places first, and if he does damage, Toad then gets the Slippery away
Hmm.
with no window to robbery, where Slippery doesn't stop Quicksilver, because you can only Slippery if you take damage, and if you don't take damage, he can't steal,
Right.
but you can't move, so then he gets another attempt. So
Okay.
uh, that's my expectations. We see Quicksilver try to steal from Toad and get out of it. He can't get away quite as far. Like the Root and Slow from Pyro is really punishing on Quicksilver. He hates both of those
Hmm.
effects. but he's still Def 3 reroll 2, and there's no one up there that is particularly threat. Like Toad and Pyro are not crazy damage dealers,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think even with a slower Quicksilver, he can probably still get back to his home Infinity and be safe enough.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm trying to see what these tactics cards are.
Yeah.
I see mission objective as the leftmost one, and then I see a disarm and I have no idea. Let's look at Nick's list and see if we can figure it out that
That's
way.
a good idea.
Uh, there's probably brace next to disarm would be my guess, because those are his two restricted cards. Uh,
Seems like a pretty good guess.
it might be a rainbow bridge. The one
Or,
next to the yellow taxi car there looks like a rainbow bridge to me.
we really are reading the tea leaves here. Hmm.
Oh, okay, okay. So he's waiting on the steel, kind of understanding that Quicksilver and Rhino are not in any danger.
Hmm.
He might be trying to just like go for the push here or throw and just get Angela out of there so that she's only walk attacking instead of punching twice.
Yeah. Um,
Blocks one,
gets
takes
yeah.
one,
Certainly has power for the throw now.
does get the push.
Oh, and he
Okay.
gets the push. Okay. It goes a long way to make Angela's activation less exciting, especially if he managed to get her out of range of the truck there to throw that to. Um,
Oh, right. And he uses his power to pass a hammer to Bill.
hmm. All right.
Yep.
First pass of the game.
So as we've seen, uh, I guess it's a little behind the curtain, but these commentaries are recorded slightly out of order, and I've seen other games of Graham assembling extracts on Bill and running away with them, so I'm not shocked to see that happen here as well. Okay, it looks like we have Scourge with his 6 dice builder trying to do some damage to Black Cat and get her. I think this makes a lot of sense because Scourge isn't doing a lot else this turn, so getting 2 attacks and he can throw this taco truck at her, and with Black Cat's new stupid defenses, throwing things at her is the best way to deal with her. None of her trickery works on a car being hurled at her head. First attack did, what, 1 damage, it looks
Looks
like?
like it.
And bleed.
This is a little risky, right? Like, if he does the wrong amount of
Yep.
damage, this can be like
Yep.
a place steal runaway. Or
Yep.
maybe,
So, I mean, but that's just Black Cat, though, right?
yeah.
Like, you can't let her run amok, but. Oh,
Oh,
all right. Yep. Taco truck kills her.
huh. Okay, lots of terrain getting cleared out quickly here. Um, interesting.
Yeah, well, like 5 of the 6 models down there have good throws, so I was not expecting that to stay for very long.
Hmm. Man, yeah, that's an interesting decision. I don't know what my first activation there would be as the Asgard player, but you really are sort of dealing with difficult situations on both sides of the table between all of the steals threatening Toad and trying to deal with Black Cat before she gets to activate and run away or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nick correctly recognized that like he can't stop the steals happening. There's like both Quicksilver and Rhino being right there means he doesn't really have an option to stop that, but he does have an option to stop Black Cat if Scourge can put her down. So I like the choice that he made. Uh, ooh, all right. 3 damage from Quicksilver into Toad.
And
That's a good punch.
still an extra.
Plays Can I Borrow That to steal the hammer. So he got the trigger to make a second attack into a different target. So here's just a free value punch into Quicksilver with the hammer. So 5 dice instead of 4.
Mm-hmm. Is that do you know off the top of your head if
Enough.
that's a may or a must?
Probably a May, but I don't know.
Okay. Right, so that's the first action out of Quicksilver with a new extract. Imagine he gets out of dodge.
Yeah, he's figuring out what kind of attacks Pyro can make. But yeah, I mean, so Quicksilver can't get very far because he can't use his bonus movement while holding an
Uh,
extract. So he can't. He's like a pay 2 power to move again, but can't be holding something when he does that. I think, right?
I could. That would
Hold
make a
on.
lot of sense. I just hadn't.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
correct. And so since he's slowed, he can only get away short, but I expect him to do that anyways. He'll pick up cover from these gunshots, and he will have his Trickster Can't Catch Me thing online, even with Root. It looks like he has 4 power there.
Hmm.
So if someone does attack him, he can probably move short again. And with both those having Wall Crawler, it's very likely he can get back behind Luigi's Mansion onto the secure and out of line of sight.
Hmm.
So Nick in a rough situation, probably the situation he kind of expected to be in, right? But a tough place. Using the Asgard leadership to heal
Yeah.
Toad seems like free value since Toad's got plenty of power and doesn't spend it great. Uh,
Go for
okay,
a hop.
he's using the hop to probably chase Quicksilver. We might see like a spit acid here to get him incinerated so that Pyro's spreading incinerates online automatically. Uh, incinerated Quicksilver gets way less tanky way quickly. Def 2 reroll 2 is much less exciting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't see much else exciting for Toad to do here than try to just get incinerates on people and soften stuff up. It's still, it's a tough game up there, which I think Nick kind of signed up. Like he only sent 5 threat up there to deal with 7,
Yeah.
so he should expect that side to go worse for him, and then the bottom side to go better for him, because that's where he is outnumbering his opponent threat wise.
Yeah. That definitely. I mean, so it's one of those situations where he's like outspent on threat up there, but not in model count. And sometimes you can,
Mm-hmm.
you know, make up for that by playing the secure more heavily with like the similar number of models or whatever. But against Kingpin, you just really can't. So yeah, he does seem like
Yeah.
he's gonna have a pretty rough time up there. Um,
Okay, so we see Toad make some sort of attack, and then the Speedster from, or sorry, not Speedster, Can't Catch Me from Quicksilver.
yeah, and now it does appear that Toad moved as well because he's no longer
Yeah,
moving
Toad is
quickly.
somewhere up,
Yeah.
either on or behind that building. There's going to be a bunch of
The
icons up
players
there
seem to
for
be having
Vince
about
to.
as good of a time with the building as we are, with some measurements around
Trying to
it.
see,
Um,
yeah, if Quicksilver with Wallcrawler can get out of line of sight or not. But, oh.
okay, well, one way or another, Quicksilver makes it back to the home infinity there for Graham.
Yep.
Um, and Toad looks like he's going to join him.
Yeah, I think it was the walk first and now the hop
Okay.
to be on the point to make sure Quicksilver has a cutter, cover, get bonus power on Toad. Maybe Pyro ends up switching sides to steal the secure. I don't know. It's real tough against the Kingpin leadership, like you
Sure.
said, but I think Toad getting over here makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it still forces him to deal with Toad eventually. So
And here's the Acid Spit. Guaranteed Incinerate. Uh, um, didn't block anything, so he takes the full 2 damage and is on fire.
rough.
It's not great, but he is at least in a good spot here where if Pyro wants to follow that up, Pyro's going to have to leave that secure.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any place he can stand on that and see Quicksilver. So I think Graham's got to be ultimately totally okay with that exchange of either VPs or damage.
yeah, seems like a great trade. Um, well, I think there's also sort of a position here where if Quicksilver makes it through this turn, there's a chance he can just get out of there with the extract and get it down to the bottom side if that's still going well at the beginning of next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still like, yeah, pressure on Pyro to do something about Quicksilver now while he's incinerated and nearby. But as you said, that does require him to sort of give up a point of his own in all likelihood. Um, so
Okay, it looks like the Bill's thinking about where he wants to run away with his two hammers.
hmm,
I think this makes a lot of sense because now uh, Nick just has a pile of difficult choices, right? If he goes after those hammers, he probably has to send more than just Thor or Angela after Bill.
mhm.
But like if they both go there, Graham is just going to win all of the secures forever, right? Like it's very hard to keep pace on the secures if a lot of things go after Bill.
Mhm.
But Bill's worth 2 points, which is a lot of points. So
He is.
all difficult decisions.
Yeah, and I don't know. Bill and or not Bill, Thor and Angela are both like probably the highest output models that Nick has, but a lot of that is based on their terrain throws, and there's not a whole lot of terrain over by Bill to throw at him. Like there's a size two, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah. There's a side.
ooh, it's like
Okay, so he's gonna see. He spent the Asgard leadership to clear the stun that King put on her, and then I think he's gonna try to see if Angela can come over and finish off Quicksilver instead of Pyro having to do it. Um, which I think is a great idea. I don't. It's hard to tell if she's gonna be within range 2 or she'll have to take her not great gunshot.
yes.
But if this hits, it can pay off quite a lot for Nick, right?
Mhm.
Because you get the hammer off of him. You're also then either scoring or tying that secure, and Angela is in a better position to come after Bill next turn as well.
Yeah, you're really sort of dealing with almost three of the extracts at once in a roundabout way between Quicksilver and Bill.
Yep.
Um,
So it looks like outside of 2, he's thinking about either gunshot or walking again and just throwing something. Okay, went for the gunshot. So just only 5 dice with hit pursuit, I think.
yep.
This is always my least favorite Angela attack. If you don't have like a winging it token or something to make it feel
It's a
better.
little rough. Sometimes you got to do it.
I mean, I think it's still right to do it. Like I agree with Nick's choice to do it here because I think he is a bit of a problem already and needs some good stuff to happen to help him get out of this.
Hmm.
Oh, and it also just killed Quicksilver while getting the pursuit. So cash money.
Yeah, sometimes. Okay, well,
Yeah.
it looks like he's probably close enough to pick that up with Angela. Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
he
she gets the
yeah,
pursuit
sorry,
as well.
never mind.
So
Definitely close enough
yes, 100%
now.
we'll be picking up this hammer.
Okay, well, that's a great turnaround for him.
Yep,
Sometimes you got to
that's
take
what he
those
needed.
chances. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Incinerated Quicksilver having a rough time.
I guess he's not entirely out of the woods though now because Rhino is still lurking just off screen with a steal and a range 3 attack that probably can hit Angela.
Yeah, I mean he's contesting that point,
Yeah.
right? His turn 1 was to walk and still be staying on that infinity. So 100% he could rob Angela whenever he wants. Yep.
Hmm.
But again, that's I mean it's still good for Nick in that he has to work his way through
Sure.
robbery. Like you're never gonna not get robbed at some point during these
Hmm.
games. Um,
Good.
and also the nice thing is that Nick does have mission
Hmm.
objective,
Hmm.
which doesn't work against Quicksilver Steel. Because it does, mission objective only works if it makes you drop
Right.
it, but robbery makes you drop
Okay.
it. So
So you can hand it off
he
to
does
Toad.
have that
Yeah.
option, yeah, to hand it to Toad.
That's an interesting option. Yeah. Although Toad still has some damage on him, so Rhino's a little threatening in that sense too, but it's still an improvement.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean he's got 4
Yeah.
health. Yeah, And it's just a hoop
Yeah.
for Kingpin to have to jump through.
Going back to tactics cards, um, do we think Nick has the Pyro Steel card? Drop card, I guess. It's not obvious. None of those look like they say pyrotechnics to me, but
Yeah, I don't think he
okay.
does. Those all look like they have at least one word. Okay. Rhino attacks Toad and kills Toad. So mission objective isn't happening. He's now in range to rob Angela as well. All right, and there's the robbery.
There you
Yep.
go.
All right. I mean, that's one way to get around mission objective is to just squish Toad.
Yeah. I mean, 5 die into Def 3 doing 2 is not out of the realm of possibility. Now he's got a whole extra action with Rhino to
Yep.
figure out what he's doing. He may actually. I can't judge distances from here, but could almost certainly walk and throw it to Bill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the throw is range
Yeah.
3, which is a long ass distance. So yeah, I don't know if he wants to put all the eggs in one basket or not. I don't have a good sense of when's the right time to do that with this list, but
Yeah.
I think I like the idea of it. And he's thinking about it. There's the range 3.
Yeah.
So
You guys talking.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. You guys mentioning how often he does this throw has been interesting to me as I've been playing some more CS and just thinking about sort of like going the direction of just using it as often as I can, and then trying to scale back from there to find the right amount.
mm-hmm.
Um, okay. Looks.
Okay, so it looks like he's shuffling to be in range to hit Angela next turn, but outside of Angela's punch range and staying on the point. Which I think makes sense because no one is scoring. If Rhino leaves that point, he gives up a VP to do so. And I think Graham would rather have the VP now and hand off the extract later.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Um,
So what have we got left? We got Thor and Pyro left,
uh,
and nothing on Nick's or on Graham's side.
uh, yeah, where did we? Oh, because Black Cat got dazed. Yep.
Because Cat got dazed. Yep.
Okay. So Nick's got a chance to sort of set up to ask some questions for next turn and make Graham's first activation difficult. Um, Probably get Kingpin off a
Yeah, the
point here.
Pyro is still in a rough situation because he's either relevant to the fight or scoring a point, but can't do both.
Hmm.
I think you need the point here to make sure you don't fall too far behind Kingpin, but it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I think that I think that makes sense, especially with Thor. You could go 3 for 1 on the secures here, and you are behind on the
Yeah, I think
extracts,
the
but
Thor
yeah.
choice is pretty easy, where it's just walk, don't charge, walk, punch. If you push him off, great. If you don't, buy your throw and get him
Hmm.
off, but do something.
Okay.
Okay, so he's deciding violence is more important than one VP. I don't dislike it. It's a tough choice, so
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because it does seem like that could go a long way to dealing with Rhino next turn. So he is like, yeah,
yes.
setting up to deal with the extracts more long term. But it's like Angela on her own probably doesn't want around Rhino, especially if she has to take the
No.
gunshot to get in. Um, yeah.
Looks like it incinerated and did 0 damage.
Well, no bonus power
Trying to
for
figure
Rhino.
out
Yeah.
if he's in range to be firewalled or not, and the building in parallax is making that difficult. But it looks like he's out because I don't see.
Yeah. No.
Okay, and they confirmed on our audio that Pyro is not on that point. He had to give up the point to make that attack. So
Mm.
no models for Graham. So now we just got Thor left, and okay,
Okay.
deciding. I get it. Like there's 3 extracts over there that someone needs to deal
Hmm.
with.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess he does
So
have the
like
throw to guarantee the secure for this turn as well. So, or the charge, I guess, is also an option.
well, I think he probably does the charge here because like Thor doesn't get to that point. So throwing
Oh,
Rhino off it doesn't score Nick a point. It just denies Graham a point.
right. Okay. I guess I
and I think into an incinerated rhino with Thor having a hammer. This is a time where I'm happy to roll the dice, right? It's def 2, and the damage reduction is min 1 instead of min 0, which is such a huge difference for Thor.
Mhm.
So there's the 4 Asgards. 7 into 2. Let's could one shot a rhino. That'd be pretty funny. Five hits, no blocks, so 4 damage.
And hit the throat, sounded like. So Ren's going for a ride.
Yep. And is also staggered.
Okay. That...
Oh, I guess didn't hit the throw.
Oh, I guess not.
Because Thor just paid 3 power for his purchasable throw.
Oh, okay. You know, when we started this
Trying to figure
game,
out where he needs to throw.
it seemed like the bottom side was going to be the interesting half, where Nick had to win attrition, but now everybody's just hanging out on points, chilling out. All the action's up top.
Yeah, I mean, Thor and Angela are not slow models. Their ability to change sides is, above average. It's not like incredible, but it's definitely above average. Oh, I forgot the hammer die. They're debating. Okay, I'm blank. All right, so throw Rhino off the point into a bush, takes 1 more damage, gains 2 more power. So Asgard scores 2 to go to 5, and 4 on Graham, so it's 8 to 5. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a more violent round than Graham was expecting, but he did achieve most of his objective. He got the hammer stolen, and in a reasonable spot, right? His Bill is still perfectly safe and happy, which I think is an important objective. And now on the south side of the board, Kingpin and Cat are going to be scoring 2 points pretty easily if they want to.
Yeah, I guess. I think it's a. I mean, so Cat's lost the Kingpin leadership, so there's a bit of a dance there where Cat and Scourge, or Scourge still beats Cat, but Kingpin can easily deal with Scourge. Um,
Yeah, well, I kind of expect Cat to troublemaker Scourge, and if he hits the elusive, can start walking towards the point, and then between a hop and a walk, get to the other point. And if she can stagger Scourge while changing points, Scourge can't.
sure.
He can chase, but then Kingpin chucks him off and goes to the point. The mobility of Cat should keep her scoring points.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the overall score, though, I think you got to be pretty happy with this as the Criminal Syndicate player, even if you're taking more damage last turn than you expected, maybe.
Especially, I think now, if I was Graham, I would be activating Rhino to get his hammer to Bill,
Yeah.
because Rhino's got 2 health left and is incinerated. That's a very easy target for Nick to squish and get the hammer. So I think you want to get that hammer to safety. And so I think his first activation is figure out how to get value out of a staggered Rhino while also passing the hammer off.
Yeah, I think he has some pretty good options there too, though, because he doesn't have to get incredibly close. He might even already be within 3. It's a little tough to tell. But even if not, a staggered Rhino can still clear out one of those other pieces of terrain that Thor or Angela might throw you in the future. And there's you just have several choices of target, really. There's a dazed Toad and also Thor and Angela.
Yeah, and Rhino has a 1 million power, it looks like, so it can do whatever he wants. So, yeah, I would expect a slide in here to make his 1 attack do extra dice, right? He can probably. I would be sliding to a point where you can also throw that bush, because that's 1 less bush that's going to get thrown into Bill. So it'd be slide, throw the bush, hand the hammer off, and then punch someone.
The fun of a Rhino activation with oodles of power.
And I think if I'm punching someone, I'm definitely not punching Thor here because I don't want him to have more power. Punching Angela seems fine because she scales with power so poorly.
Hmm.
But there's also, you could punch Toad to try to get back onto the point as well if you want Rhino to be threatening VPs that way, which I'm totally on board with because luckily for Rhino, his teleport's before damage instead of after damage, so he doesn't have to worry about KOing Toad with the punch and being stranded.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to go after Toad because now that Pyro has sort of left that back point, um,
Oh.
Nick is
Mm-hmm.
could be looking for somebody to go back there, and it could be Toad. So it looks like Rhino is throwing that dumpster at somebody.
Through the
Toad.
dumpster instead of the bush. Okay. Yeah. 2 damage to Toad, so he's got 1 health. Nice. Spent some power, I assume, for a slide.
Yeah, he's just sort of considering.
Oh. I guess he's thinking about punching Toad first with the hammer die, and then seeing if that gets him within range to.
Hmm. Okay, so he attacks Toad and finally does KO Toad with the strike with the hammer.
Yep.
Now still has plenty of power to slide and hand off the hammer.
Interesting. I like my order better, but I think it ultimately ends up being just fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't really
I don't.
considered the hammer die as a tool to do extra damage to Toad there with Rhino, but
But if you slide, you had 7 dice, which is still more dice. Like if you slide handoff punch, it's 7 dice versus
it
6.
is. And
And now
yeah, I do like where Rhino ends up more the other way too. I think.
I would say I hate where Rhino's at right now because now Angela can punch him, teleport to
Yeah.
Bill, and just like do some work on her way to go chasing Bill as
Hmm.
well.
I guess the only upside is that you don't really have to worry as much about Rhino getting thrown into Quicksilver, but you care a lot more
That's
about
true.
Bill surviving than Quicksilver. So yeah.
But no, actually that's a fair point because I do want to keep Quicksilver alive up there to be scoring on the secures.
Well, and also,
Angela heals and is punching Rhino.
and this is extra dangerous because of her place in an assassin. She could even do the assassin attack in the Bill.
Yeah, huh?
Okay. All right. I'm catching on.
Very
Yep.
scary. All right.
So,
Yep. She had the
yeah.
power to assassin. So you have to have the power for assassin before the attack, but she did. So she gets to place, she gets to make an attack, and then still have an action and a throw left. I mean, Bill should live through this, but it feels scarier than it has any right to be.
Yeah, it got a lot sketchier all of a sudden.
So she places, then gets a short advantage from assassin. Now her free attack. Bill rolls a bajillion blocks. Bill tries to aggressive, which I think is really cool here because it gets him away from Thor, but you have to take damage to use aggressive, and Angela failed at
Yeah.
doing that, so. Alright, yep, here's the bush that I wanted to get rid of, but
Okay. Good.
no blocks, pays to reduce, takes 2 damage. Not great, but still likely to live here,
Yep.
right? 6 into 4 with reduction is still good for Bill, but it's scary. No blocks, pays 1, takes 2.
Okay. I think that ends up in about where you'd expect, but not exactly on the path you'd
Yeah.
expect. Um, okay. Now,
Oh, yeah. So Angela has living ribbons, which means you can't place a movement tool overlapping her base. So Bill can't just walk straight along the edge of the mat here, but he can still like curve the tool around her and get, it's free distance. It's less
mhm.
distance, but It's free real estate, so you would absolutely take that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that come up on aggressive before, but it is kind of the perfect situation. Um, interesting.
And now I fully expect Bill to get the fuck out of there before Thor can come get him.
Yeah, I would expect Bill to be in
Probably
the
like a
corner.
Chuck Angela medium straight up the mat, right, so that she's further away for next turn, and then double walk.
Hmm. Yeah, and then
Seems
Bill just to
pretty.
end up where the dice are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm visualizing.
I like that. Um, okay.
Okay, Bill activates. Bill pays 3 to throw Angela. Just making distance. And this is what's so obnoxious about the way Graham plays this list. Is just like anytime you fail to kill Bill, he makes so much distance between the two models.
Hmm.
Like I don't think Angela can even walk and gunshot him next turn, right? Like at best, Angela can walk, throw.
Oof. Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
And like Thor, I don't think can get any part of this either.
Hmm.
Puts him within 3 to give himself the option, I guess, to hand out, like start moving hammers off of Bill if he wants to.
Hmm.
I think that's interesting. I would probably be splitting up my eggs a little bit here because like Kingpin is what he took like 1 or 2 damage I think turn 1 from that truck being thrown at him, but still pretty healthy,
Hmm.
and there's not really any threats on him. So I think moving one of your hammers over there. We're looking to see if Thor can't even walk and shoot his range 5 gun into Bill. That boy just gets so far away.
Yeah, I mean, I think given that Bill is immune this turn, I don't dislike keeping all three there. Because like if you move any of them to
No,
Kingpin, Thor can like walk charge Kingpin then.
that's true. Yeah, it gives like Thor and
Yeah.
Scourge things to do.
Um,
Oh, I bet this is looking at Rainbow Bridge
hmm.
as a way to move models back in, which I really like having Rainbow Bridge in this matchup, but Nick is unfortunately stuck at an awkward point with it where Scourge can use it, which is great. Thor can't use it because you can't Rainbow Bridge while holding something,
Yep.
and Angela can't use it because she doesn't have the power.
Yeah, playing Rainbow Bridge on just Scourge feels a little rough.
Yeah, I think this is maybe the gift of hindsight, but like using the Asgard leadership to heal Angela when he did felt premature to
Hmm.
me. Because like Graham's not really attritioning here,
Hmm.
right? There's not many things going to attack Angela, and you will probably have opportunities later in the turn to heal her if you need to. But I would wanted to keep power on her in case you fail to be able to chase Bill,
Yeah.
right? A lot of my game plans are just based around how do I mitigate the worst case scenario, because that's how Marvel works, and that's where you get the most punished. And if she had one more, then Rainbow Bridge gets a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I mean that takes her a long way and puts her actually relevant next turn for dealing with them.
Yeah, and like obviously Nick can just Rainbow Bridge next turn instead, and that's still good. But it would be nice if we could Rainbow Bridge this turn so Scourge can get some. I guess Scourge can just try to put down Black Cat. So
Hmm.
yeah, I guess it's not a huge change in game state if the Rainbow Bridge is this turn or next.
Yeah, it looks like Scourge is just too far from that car to throw it from this angle.
Yeah, he might be able to throw that
Yeah.
bush, which is something. And he's got power for his spender now too, so an 8 and a 6 and a size 1 throw is not terrible odds to kill Cat.
Hmm.
And it's not like you can give Cat much more power at this point.
True.
Oh, actually, that's a 5. I think she's actually at 10, so yes, you literally cannot.
Hmm. Yeah, Pyro really is just sort of off on an island now. Like he can come along and try and finish off Rhino and stand on a point, but
Oh, Rhino's dead.
Rhino's dead.
Yeah, because Angela got the assassin
Oh
move
yeah,
off him.
sorry.
Puts Root and Slow back on Quicksilver now that Quicksilver's injured. And then, yeah, some pew pew gunshots into him. Thinking about the runaway with Quicksilver again, if that's worthwhile or not.
I love this interaction that comes up all the time. Like the one player rolling dice they weren't supposed to roll and then having to hide them with their hands. It's very fun. Um,
Yeah, I don't think I'd run away with Quicksilver here. I mean, it might be worth it just to pick up cover if he can.
mm,
Just try to keep him alive. I think you just want to keep Quicksilver alive so he can go stand on one of these two Infinity formulas every turn and just eke out some points that way.
sure. Um,
Looks like that gets him out of range of the attack, which is even better than cover. So
hmm.
it's hard to tell where Pyro is. Hopefully he enters the frame here.
Yeah, I was trying to envision how you'd get cover from Pyro, but when I didn't know where Pyro was, it becomes harder to figure out. Um,
Yeah, well, I think Pyro is probably like next to that skylight, like
okay.
further north of the skylight. And so I was thinking if Pyro or if Quicksilver walked towards Thor, he probably gets outside of two
Hmm.
and then can get cover.
Am I just thinking of a different game and that like you can get cover from a thing that Pyro's on top of?
Yeah, you totally
Okay.
can.
Huh.
You just have to be outside of two.
Okay. I should read the rules sometime, I guess. Um, this is why I'm a judge at Second Wind. Let's
uh,
see.
so now he's figuring out what to do with Pyro.
Got his action back,
He's
at
got both
least,
his
right?
actions
Yeah.
still. Yeah. But it's like, does he walk forward and try to shoot Pyro? Does he back up? Does he?
He's got to stand on a point
I think I'd be
somewhere,
walking
right?
forward.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, this feels a
Yep.
little rough,
Here's the.
though. So I guess I'm interested in the decision to go with Pyro, not Scourge here.
Me too.
Um, like I guess that
Because I don't.
yeah, Quicksilver could run away if he activated Scourge, but I don't know.
So can
Yeah,
Cat. Is the like.
and that feels more problematic to me because that's
I agree.
still a steal that's online. All the other ones are off the table.
Yep.
Um,
And yep. Here. Oh yeah, good call. So the troublemaker plan I thought about for Scourge isn't great into
mm,
Asgard, where they can just leadership the stagger away.
yep.
It's not super profitable, which makes sense. So now, oh, it wouldn't surprise me to see Cat just get out of there. Okay, or Kingpin. Yeah,
Mm,
doing something to keep Cat in a happier spot makes sense to me. Whether that she runs away or Kingpin walks over and chucks Scourge so that it's a single attack instead of two.
hmm. Yeah, he can. I guess he can't walk. He can't single walk and get to the point to Spender, but yeah, he can just throw him off in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, this does sort of make the idea of giving Kingpin one of those hammers sort of an interesting idea again, because he's getting increasingly far away from Bale and would spread the hammers even more. Um, it looks like he's just going to throw Scourge off into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So now, I mean, there's always Rainbow Bridge, but it's gonna. I don't think anybody wants the Rainbow Bridge. Okay. Well, he's looking to see does a Rainbow Bridge get him in range to deal with Bill? Because Scourge does have a range 3 spender,
Hmm.
which gets people by surprise reasonably often. So like, and it costs 4, so he does have the power to walk Rainbow Bridge spender, which is interesting into Bill. It's 8 dice, so that's the big old pile.
Yes, he
Uh,
only has to do
but it's a lot of
two,
resources spent
but
to
yeah.
make one attack. Yep.
Um, I guess it depends on that quite on that measurement, right? Because if you're there's part of three where you're not quite close enough to pick up any of the hammers dropped by Bill, but it's not that much smaller
He
than
wouldn't
those
have the
two.
power anyways.
Oh, he
He's
is
spending all of his
exactly how
power
much.
for Rainbow Bridge and the
The
Spender.
Spender's cost
Yeah.
four.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's, yeah. He can kill Bill, but then the hammers just go scatter. And you saw Nick just there measuring double long from Cat
Hmm.
to see, like, would she be able to get hammers that are now scattered on the ground.
Right. Huh.
But even, I mean, hammers on the ground means Bill isn't scoring 3 VPs, so that's not nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
That's a tough risk to judge.
I'm pretty sure I would be going for it.
I guess what it's 8 to 5.
Because it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you look at how many points Graham could have if all of those stay up, it's pretty easy for him to get at least 2 secures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's getting 5 points to go to 13, which makes your next turn very scary.
Yeah.
So here's the bridge,
Bridge of Rainbows.
which I'd feel better about and now I'm back on my Angela shouldn't have healed complaint. Yeah, so one of the power pickup hammers doesn't look like he can be standing on the infinity formula when he makes this attack, so has to just send it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't be in range for a builder, nothing to throw, so exploring and exhausting all of his options before realizing, yep, it's just got to be executioning time. Not a great roll, but oh, there's 2 crits. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Fair number of hits.
Okay, yeah, 5 hits, 2 blocks can reduce 1, still takes 2, still dies. No sense in paying for
Yeah.
damage reduction, you die either way, so just keep your power, and now the hammer pinata has been exploded.
Yeah, that's a big roll in terms of keeping it close going into the next turn.
Yeah. That was crucial to
Yeah.
make sure this isn't just over now, but Nick's still in a tough spot even with this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fairly difficult to stop Cat from getting one of these hammers because she has Walk Walk Hop online.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, Nick has the right idea here of just scatter them so that Cat doesn't get a bunch of them, but I think Cat will be able to get at least one of them. Whether she wants to or not, she might just decide the Infinity Formula is just as good and just leave Cat on that point for this turn to get hammers next turn. But I would be getting a hammer.
How many powers does Quicksilver have? 3? Yeah, I was
3.
just looking at the same thing that Graham was measuring, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
The problem is he is slowed from Pyro.
That is rather a problem.
And rooted, so he could pay 3 to move long and then be out of power when he gets to the hammers.
Huh.
The slow and root is doing a lot to keep Quicksilver from just running away with this.
It really is, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's good, yeah. Pyro's a good character. But it's nice that Quicksilver has been very relevant even while being slowed and rooted all game.
Mm-hmm.
He is a good-ass model. So we have Quicksilver left, we have Cat left, and Thor.
Yeah.
So Nick will have priority, but I do see Graham's last card of all according to plan. Not super easy to play it. It's hard to tell how much power Rhino has. Cat has a bunch.
Yeah.
Bill can't pay for it. Quicksilver can't pay for it. No idea what Kingpin has, but probably not an enormous amount. So just not a given that he can all according to plan, but is an option.
Rhino spent a fair amount. But I guess by next turn should be back up to 4-ish.
Yeah.
So I think he could probably squeeze it out, but he will be in a rough spot in terms of power for doing much of anything else next turn.
Yeah, but I mean, Bill would have enough to like pick up some hammers and chuck Scourge away, which is probably good enough.
Yeah. Just reset up the
Because Nick
pinata.
still doesn't have threats to thing in this corner.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of the hammers to Black
Okay.
Cat.
Yep. She still has, I think, 7. I think that's a 5 power token, one of the new giant
Mm.
ones. So with her on 7, all according is definitely a threat here.
Mm-hmm. Thor begins the long journey to play the game.
Yeah, he's just going to have to. He could maybe get on this Infinity for a point, which is
Oh, that would.
cool value.
Huh.
Nah, looks like he's out. They're going to measure it.
Not quite.
Oof, that's too bad.
Hmm.
I mean, Thor still he did what Thor exactly had to do, which is get over here to be relevant. But it would feel a lot better.
Yeah.
There's a point to be scored. All right, here's Quicksilver shaking the slow, which makes sense. 2 longs is better than 3 shorts, I think, and it's certainly better for future turns. And I bet we see, yeah, he's just going to come grab a free VP up here. So that's going to be just 2 points for Asgard, 1 from Thor, 1 from Pyro, and 3 for, or maybe just 2. Is it just 2 for each?
It should be 3. It's Black Cat hammer plus the 2 secures. Or am I missing?
Which? Oh yeah.
So what, he's going to go to 11? Yeah.
Yep.
11 and 7?
7.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Now we see. Doing cleanup. But yeah, I expect to see at least some time spent thinking about all according here after this cleanup and power phase. Again, hard to know if I would do it since I can't see how much power he really has, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing it so that Bill can scoop up hammers and, even just backing up, Scourge at most can walk attack you, and Thor probably has to walk charge hit you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Bill can like walk over there, throw Scourge, walk back to a spot between the 2 hammers and grab them in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That seems like a.
If he can do that to Thor, I'm very excited, but I don't think he can do that to Thor and still grab hammers.
No, that seems pretty far.
But I would spend a lot of time trying to measure that one out just to be sure, because if you can throw Thor away, this turn feels really good.
Yeah, especially Scourge without the power to spend her again. Has to just walk over and
Yeah,
flail.
he's just going to dirtle
Yeah.
and probably try to hit Cat and throw a tree at her.
Mm.
Alright. He's breaking his power down so he can do some math here. So if he doesn't all according, what do I do if I'm Nick?
That's a good question.
I think it's probably a Scourge tries to walk over Bill, grab maybe at least 1 hammer, maybe grab 2, and maybe just grab 2 and try to tank it out, because Scourge isn't squishy. He's reasonably durable.
Yeah, and Bill is in sort of a similar position to some of the other Asgard models, where he doesn't do a ton of damage without throws, or
Yeah.
against a big model, I guess. So he doesn't do a ton of
Right.
damage.
Yeah, it's better against big targets. Yeah.
But his odds of dazing a Scourge are not low. Um,
Alright. Well, doesn't matter because there's the all according. So Rhino spent looks like all of his. Cat spent a couple. Kingpin maybe spent a couple. Who knows? But
looks like he still has 4 on Cat, so Cat's still got the power to go a ways and
I
do
might.
some stuff.
Yeah. You might see Cat hop, grab the hammers, then double long.
Hmm. Uh, I would think she can only get 1 off that, unless the first long
Well,
takes her to
maybe
like one of the hammers.
hop to 1 hammer,
Yeah,
walk to a hammer, walk away.
he's sort of running out of places to run Cat to, though, unless he can like.
Yeah. He can get away from Bill, but he can't get away from Thor.
Yeah, interesting. suppose now he can like double walk, hand one off to Kingpin even.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's I guess he doesn't have the power
Does he
for
have the
that now.
power? No. Okay, so he's only grabbing one of the hammers so they can still get maximum distance away.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, if he had one more power, that would be
I
dicey.
would absolutely be spreading the
Yeah.
hammers out as much as possible now.
Huh. I mean, Nick is still in a position where he sort of has to activate and deal with that one hammer over by Bill, or well, I assume Bill will go and take it. Um,
Yeah, but I also think he kind of has to deal with Cat here because if he doesn't, Kingpin's gonna go walk and throw Thor away, and then Cat's safe.
True. Yeah, I
So I
guess no
think you
good
just have to roll
options.
some dice here with Thor, which is not going to feel great because it's. I think it's going to have to be walk charge and hope one big attack can kill Cat when you can't explode your
Oh
crits.
boy. Can
Man, new Black Cat is such a fucking model.
yeah, everyone keeps telling me that. It's
Yeah,
not. It hasn't.
because she's invincible. She's just literally unkillable.
My first Black Cat game post errata still got one shot by Malekith. So
That's
yeah,
surprising.
there's not high odds, but um,
Yeah,
this is going to be a dumb question. Can you collide with the edge of the map?
you may
I
not.
mean, not okay.
I mean, it stops
Yeah,
movement,
but you
but you
don't
don't take
collide.
damage or anything. There's no
Right.
collision.
I guess there's plenty of other
Yep,
things you
here's
can
the
throw the
walk
cat into.
charge. Yeah, he's probably gonna. I expect him to be in a spot where he can throw Kingpin into Black Cat if the one punch doesn't do it, but he makes a power.
Hmm.
That's his definitely his best odds to. All right, Thor. He's got a hammer. 7 dice. One block. It sounds like. Nope.
That's not great.
Not great. Oh, actually three. That's more than I thought. Or is that 2 damage? Or is he fishing for a token? Looks like it's 2 damage. All right. Yep. And then here's the Kingpin chuck. Kingpin doesn't take damage from collisions with characters, so it's just Cat. Has to dodge 4 damage. Ooh. Blocks 2, takes 2, alive on 1.
Yeah.
Rough. Uh, no, he has no other attacks that can get into Black Cat, so she's getting the 2.
Yep.
Kingpin's gonna walk to a point. Bill's gonna have a point. Yeah, they're doing some math here, but it sounds like Nick's ready to throw in the towel.
Hmm.
Doesn't see a way out, and I don't either.
Yeah. Um, I don't have any huge ideas here. Um,
Yep, Angela's too far away to do anything. Pyro's too far away to do anything. It's literally just Scourge is the only model who could contribute here. But even if Scourge like one shots Bill, Rhino can escape to a point. Kingpin gets to a point. Quicksilver's on a point. Cat's holding 2 hammers. That's a win all the same.
yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty inevitable. Um,
But they're gonna play it out. I totally agree with playing it out in that your opponent can always just fall on their face, and you might as well see if they just trip on their shoelaces.
mhm.
You know, it doesn't. It's not like you can start your next game sooner, right? The round timer is the round timer, so
Yep.
make him get to 16. So we see Bill grab a hammer as expected. He's gonna walk. He's gonna throw Scourge away just to make sure he's not in any spot to do anything to Cat. Bill does make it to the point. That's great.
Yeah, spending his 3 for the throw. Scourge walking back to just undo the throw that just happened to him. Taking a second
Yeah,
walk because he's
he
still
can come stand
healthy.
on this point.
Yeah.
Yep, get some VPs for tie breaks.
Graham is sort of running out of healthy
Uh,
characters, so it's not like he can just step over there with Rhino or even Quicksilver. So it looks like that's.
Yeah,
I guess
I
Kingpin
think we're going to see
can
Kingpin chuck
kind of
Scourge off
throw
the.
him. Yeah.
Just keep throwing that boy around. Yeah, I think uh, if we want to talk about like what I think Asgard could have done differently here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't love playing either of Scourge or Angela into this matchup
Hmm.
because all they can do is roll dice at people. I think playing one of them, like playing probably just Angela, is fine.
Hmm.
Oh, there's the scoop. Because like Angela is at least one of your better options for running down Black Cat because she's got a very cheap and accessible throw,
Mm-hmm.
and so she'll always have stuff to be able to throw into Angela and rolls decent piles of dice.
Yep.
But I think having both of those characters who can only do damage really limits your options, and I would want like Valkyrie over Scourge feels like an obvious choice to me. She's more mobile. She can throw at least some of these characters off points, right? Obviously not all of them,
Uh-huh.
but you can throw Quicksilver, Bill, or Cat off of
Yep.
points, which is still pretty helpful. The charge helps her chase down stuff she needs to switch to chase. Warrior of Legend's not great into Black Cat, but whatever. Nothing's good into Black Cat. It's fine.
Yeah, I think that swap makes a lot of sense. Just a little more flexible in sort of dealing whichever half of the scenario you have to there. Um,
Probably also playing Pyrotechnics. It's one of the worst steals, but
mm-hmm.
I think you just whatever steals are in your roster should likely make the table into criminals.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense on hammers. Yeah, um, especially. Um, hmm. Well, that was interesting to see. Yeah, his
Because
usage of the second half of the leadership to pass all the hammers to Bill in the early game, and really just sort of shape the game around the extract and Bill.
yeah, this one is maybe my favorite use of it because you just think about it. It's just like there were two hammers that started where Bill is here, and then they made it all the way to the top end of the mat, and then into the bottom corner of the mat, and now Cat got two of them to the middle of the board. Like
Yeah,
those hammers travel an incredible distance when Graham plays this game, and I think that's really fascinating to watch, and then like underappreciated part of Kingpin's leadership.
yeah, yeah. I think it works especially well on Infinity. You just have like a little more power floating around, especially to like hit some of those breakpoints on turn two where you actually have the power to, you know, get the extract one way or another and hand it off, things like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, it's definitely interesting to watch. And as you may have
I'm
had the
not.
luxury of seeing it in some other matchups.
Yeah, I'm not stoked about other people learning to do what Graham's doing because I don't know how I deal with it, and I liked it better when people were just worse at playing Kingpin. But now we have all this tape out there to show people what they need to be doing.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if this becomes the new thing. Sure worked well
All
at second
right,
win.
and I think with that we've been a size 3 taco truck commentary reel. I forget what Vince said, but he had a sign off, so pretend I said what he said.